Hey everybody, it's Clownboy03, and I just want to let you know real quick before we get into the video, the intro you're about to see was added in the last minute, as I wanted to make it a little bit more unique, and I wanted to keep in tone with the Goosebumps TV show, where we would every now and then see the intro of it instead of being the classic intro that we all know and love. It would be R.L. Stine introducing himself and saying what we would be watching. I thought that would be a nice little ring to the Goosebumps book review that I'm doing, and I'll try to do that with every other review that's not Goosebumps as well as the ones that is Goosebumps. Okay, take care and enjoy the video. Hello everybody, my name is Clownboy03, and today we are reviewing the Goosebumps books. Our first episode of the Goosebumps book series, the original Goosebumps series that is just Goosebumps, not Horrorland, not Most Wanted, but those will be continued. I will review them later after the Goosebumps series and probably some other books. But for now, let's get into it. Our first book review of Goosebumps is the very first Goosebumps book. Of course, welcome to Dead House. Follow me as we review. Hello everybody, my name is Clownboy03 and welcome back to the channel and to the very first episode of the Goosebumps review series, the original Goosebumps. As you can see here on the cover, it's the original. I'll do Horrorland, Most Wanted, Slappy World, Series 2000, Hall of Horrors. I'll do all of them in due time. Right now I want to focus on the original series. You know, getting ready for the Goosebumps TV show. Thought, why not? Let's do that for it. Because I'm not really excited, but at the same time, I just, like I said before in my previous book video, I just have mixed feelings about it. I'm not really excited, but I'm not angry, but I'm just curious, you know, how they're going to handle it, because it's Disney Plus that's behind it, so people who are working with it in Disney Plus or for Disney or something like that, when I hear Disney now, it just doesn't sound really that interesting. You know, if it was like the 90s or, well, the 80s Disney to the 90s era of Disney, probably even early 2000s era of Disney, I would be happy. I'd be jumping up and down in excitement because they had some dark shit back in their day. Like, way back in their day, actually. Like, I think, when they first started, I don't know what era it was. I just know they had an era where they done some dark and creepy stuff. But now it's like they're too afraid to do it. And other reasons that I do not really want to bring up because I just don't really give a fuck to bring it up. Pardon my language, YouTube, you sensitive little child. Yeah, I'm just not excited for it, but I'm not against it either. I am curious to see where it's gonna go, but which is why I'm reviewing and reading, and reviewing Goosebumps series, because I love it so much, and I'm just thought, why not? Let's get ready for the TV show by doing this. This will be fun. I get to relive childhood, nostalgia, because I grew up reading Goosebumps ever since in 4th or 5th grade. I want to say it was like 5th grade. I mean, it's been a book. I had 2 of the Horrorland books because of my older brother, but I never read them until I rewatched the TV show, and then I started reading Goosebumps. A friend let me borrow her Goosebumps book, or either she let me borrow it or she gave it to me. Because I can't. It was Slappy's son, Goosebumps Most Wanted Slappy's son. I think that's the one she gave me because I don't remember having to buy it, but I might be wrong. Because, you know, why would someone give you why would someone give you something they want unless they are a really good friend, and or it's a gift or something? But I don't remember it being a gift. I just remember her letting me borrow it, but I probably have that one, or it's just one I bought. Anyway, though, after that, I've gotten into Goosebumps, and I would always collect them whenever I saw them at stores, whether it's flea markets or yard sales or whatever. I would always make sure my mom would buy it, and that's how I got pretty much all 62 of the originals, was in bookstores, mainly flea markets, or just finding them. But anyway, off to why I'm making this video in the first place is the review. The story is about Amy and Josh and her mom and dad and their dog Petey. They move into a city called Dark Falls. They're supposedly their great uncle left them this house, and they decide to move into it because it's bigger, and her dad can finally quit his office job and fulfill his job as a writer, which is just mentioned. It doesn't really go anywhere. But to be fair, it's a short story, and they're during their time at the house, they're trying to paint it up and get it to look good as new. So that takes time. But this is I know every Goosebumps is a short story. I'm going to get a little sidetrack here, but I want to mention that this one, according to my knowledge, is the shortest out of the Goosebumps books. I might be wrong about that if we're not including the short stories anyway. I know the short stories make up like 100 and something pages. So even if it was like 122, which this one has 123, I still wouldn't include it because, they're supposed to be short because it's short stories. Like, extremely short stories are only like 5 pages long. Where this is 123 pages long, which it's not that long of a book, but compared to every other Goosebumps book that I believe went past that, like at least 10 pages, some like even 100, because I'm pretty sure there's some Goosebumps books that go over the 100 limit and make it to 200. I might be wrong about that, but I still stand, non-counting as short stories, this is the shortest story of Goosebumps. And it makes sense because this is the start of Goosebumps, which we'll get back into that later. Let's continue with the story. After they move in, they, of course, as any kid when they move to a new house, doesn't like it. They just want to go back to their old place. I moved before. I never moved to I never switched schools or any of that. I always stayed in the same school I went to ever since I was a kid, but the closest I moved was like from one city, well, not one city, but like one state to the other state, because where I was living, it was only like 30-minute drive, but there was no school there because it was just a small town with houses and like a gas station and mail, the mail store. I don't remember what that's called. I feel like an idiot, but it was just a bunch of shorts. It was just stores, and that was pretty much it, with a few houses around it. It was, you wouldn't even call it I don't want to even call it a town. I just call it a place where there's buildings, but not a town. But even though it is, it just didn't feel like it when I compare it to every other town. But, so I have some experience of what it's like moving into a new house, because I miss that double wide I used to live in. I miss it. But so that I can relate to, but moving to a new city and your friends, I feel like other people would relate to that a lot more, or at least being a kid and not being able to see your own friends, because when you're an adult and you graduate high school, it's kind of difficult to see your friends. It's like they're gone and all that, but let's not get into that. This is about this book. So that I can't relate to, but I'm pretty sure kids can relate to them on how they feel about leaving their friends behind, having to start make new friends and start a different school, and they do make new friends. However, these, as it says right here on the back, these new friends are not exactly what their parents had in mind, because they want to be friends forever. That doesn't sound too bad. As a kid, that sounds spooky, but like as an adult, that doesn't sound too bad. But it really escalates quick. I like the tone to this one. It's like the first Child's Play to me. I know a lot of people said that was like the first Night Lemon Dummy, and I might agree with that when I reread it, because I haven't read that book in a while. But this one does feel like the first Child's Play movie, in my opinion, with it being so dark and edgy. Well, not really edgy, but just, dark and cold in tone, where there's just no humor at all. But, and I say that because if you notice, like, there are some Goosebumps books that still have the dark tone, but they shift the comedy a little bit, or go ridiculous, like Chicken was very ridiculous. But then you have Monster Blood, that I could say is a mix of both. But then you had the Haunted Mask that was terrifying, in my opinion. I think that's the one of the most terrifying books, if not the most terrifying Goosebumps book. But after they meet their friends, they find out it's like they make friends, but they don't, because she says they are friends, but in the same page, she says they're not really their friends yet. But it's like as they get to know them and they can call them friends, that's when everything kind of goes downhill from there, because they lose their dog Petey. They go find him, and then Ray tries to stop him from going to the cemetery. And dun dun dun, twist number one is they're dead. They're dead. Everyone in Dark Falls is dead. They are vampires. But I wouldn't claim them as vampires, I guess. I mean, you could. Yeah, that's up to you. They're never called vampires in the book, but it's clear that's what they are. So, and I like Ray in the book, and then I don't remember him too much in the show. He was kind of similar, and just by memory. But in the book, I do like how he gives off that creep, not that creep, but like that scary kid feel to him. Just, because he's literally the Watcher. He even says he's the Watcher. That's a very big creep factor. That's scary as hell, honestly. Even that gives me, sorry for the lame pun here, but that gives me goosebumps a little bit. Just imagine you meet somebody, you come to a close friend, they say, "Oh, I'm the Watcher. I've been watching you ever since you moved in." I'd be scared as hell. I don't care if a kid told me that or an adult. I don't care. I'd be scared as hell. I would get a restraining order and just stay away from them as much as possible. But after that, uh, everything happens very quickly. I feel like if this was like Goosebumps book 10, it would have been a little longer. They would have had where they tried to warn their parents, and then the vampires would have to, or the dead kids. I'm gonna call them dead kids. That sounds cooler. The dead kids would have to act like no, it's just their imagination and all that. But because it's the first book and it's short, and for this being a test, an experiment. It's an experiment. See if this series would go anywhere. It happens quick. The parents get kidnapped and they're about to feast on them because Josh and Amanda, they just get out of there, but they come back. They somehow manage to push a tree down and the sun shines on all of them. It kills them all, except I think it's Dewis. I think that's how you pronounce his name. The one who moved him into the house. I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't remember, because if I saw the episode, I probably would have been able to remember how to pronounce it. That's just a name I'm not familiar with at all. So sorry if y'all know the name and y'all just feel embarrassed. That I don't. I'm embarrassed for not knowing it, so don't feel bad there. But they kill everybody except him, apparently, because apparently the twist is he somehow survived. The twist ending, anyway, is that he survived and he's selling the house to new family. And I have to say, it's not the best twist ending, but there's one line in the book that I really like, where she says, "I used to live in your house," and that's what every kid told her in the book. So it's pretty cool, and I think it's probably a way saying that they might be dead somehow, because every kid that said it was dead, and they said I lived in your house before, or I haven't been in this house in a long time, but every kid confirmed that they lived in this house. Every kid did. So that's, even if I'm just looking too deep into it as a future writer, as a starter when it comes to writing horror, I might just be looking too deep into it, but I don't know. I just like how she just becomes the person to say that. But hey, she might be that one person to live. Who knows? I mean, Petey died, and I know they said they killed him, or they usually kill the dogs first, but we don't know how. I mean, you could have just. I'm not gonna put any theories. That kind of is just a creep factor or something, a dark moment that I don't really think I need to question, because the logical reason would be to kill the dog first if they can tell you're dead. But hey, if they can't figure that out, that there's something wrong, then I guess they wouldn't have to kill the dog. Anyway, there's some things that stick out to me in this book, and besides the plot, is how, for a starter, this is a great start. It's like Nocturne and Toten for Call of Duty Zombies. It's a great start, except I think this has a little bit more than that because there's some thing, you can read it and enjoy it, but at the same time, because it's the first book and it's an experiment, it's not really. Don't get me wrong, it has passion into it, but it's an experiment. So I'd say it would be in the middle of my ranking, which may or may not age well because I plan on doing a ranking video of all 62 books when I'm done because I like ranking videos and I always wanted to make one. So that would be my first ranking video unless I do one for a video game. I don't really know. So, but for now, it's just in the middle for me because it's a good book, but compared to every other Goosebumps book I read, including Most Wanted and Horrorland books, I'd say it's not as good as like The Haunted Mask, 9/11 Dummy, Monster Blood. It's not as good as those two, but it's better than Chicken Chicken, Or I haven't finished reading it, but How I Learned to Fly, I heard that one was more of a fantasy book than a Goosebumps book. And by the title and what I read so far, like the first few pages before I lost it and had to replace it, yeah, it kind of seems that way. But like I said, as a starter, it's great, and you want the first one to be something that grabs you and that gets you excited for the next story in the series. But I feel like anyone can go back, read it, and enjoy it. But especially for how batshit insane it gets with certain things, like the dream sequence was absolutely batshit insane for a kid's book. And yes, I know kid stuff can be mature and dark and terrifying, and some of it can just be downright goofy. It depends on what the writer wants to do and how they want to do it. And I think R.L. Stine, I think he had balls here, and he decided, if I'm going to make this, it's an experiment. I don't even think he expected it to go anywhere, so why not just go over the top with it, but still make sure it's PG level, Like the dream sequence, if you don't know, Amanda has a dream that their faces are missing, and instead their skulls are there where their faces should be, and they're eating bones. And then when the dead kids die, the dead people, their skin melts off their bones, their eyes pop out of their sockets, and their bones crack and disintegrate along with their clothes. That's pretty gruesome. I mean, it's not the most gruesome thing ever. I feel like there's a lot worse. Especially after reading American Psycho, there was a lot worse. But for a kid's book, that's pretty dark and disturbing, and that's what I like about Goosebumps. I like how everyone, at one hand it can be like this, and then you can have something that's like Chicken Chicken that's just so freaking loony and just crazy because, as R.L. Stine stated, when he writes for horror for adults, he's got to make it realistic. When he writes for horror for kids, he doesn't want to scare them to the point where we give them nightmares. He just wants to scare them. So he makes sure that they know it's not real. But I think this is the most realistic out of all of them. Yeah, I know it's dead kids, but if you take out them dead kids returning, it's pretty terrifying because I can buy something as being a cult. I really can. So that's why I say it's the most realistic. But as I already stated so many times, as a starter, I gotta say it's a really good start to Goosebumps. It gets me excited because I want to see how it evolves, because I never read the Goosebumps in proper order. I just saw the title, the page, and read the back, and was like, okay, this is what I'm reading next. Unless it was Slappy, I tried to read Slappy as much as possible because I absolutely love Slappy. He's the best Goosebumps monster. I stand by that. Aside, him and the Haunted Mask are my two favorites. And Monster Blood. I think Monster Blood was very unique. So those are my favorites. So, those are my top 3 in the order I described them. So now that I'm reading in chronological order and reviewing them in chronological order, sorry if I'm stuttering. I've been stuttering a lot recently. Haven't been able to say certain words that I used to be able to say. Or talking hasn't really made sense. Mental health and my brain hasn't been the same ever since my 11th grade year, because I had to be doing e-learning and I was stuck in one place in my house for a whole year. The only place I got to go to was my dad's. That was it. even then, I was stuck there. I couldn't get out and socialize that much, so that really messed me up. So y'all bear with me here if what I say doesn't make any sense. But I want to go ahead and give my ranking on this. I'm going to give it a 7. Or, you know, like a 7 or 8. Let's give it an 8. Let's be fair. Let's be a little fair because it's the start. We'll give it an 8. But I deduct 2 points because even though it's a starter, it could have done more. I think what it does is good, and I think it does enough. It does what it needs to do. I feel like you probably could have made it a little longer, probably close to 200 pages, because I feel like kids probably would read something like this, especially in the time era, and I feel like kids even nowadays would read this, because I don't think kids are ever going to change when them wanting to read something that's scary. I feel like they would want to read something that's scary because they like being scared. You know, I think kids wouldn't really change in that regard. It depends on if the parents would let them read it or not. But I feel like kids would read this if it was 200 pages. And I think if it was 200 pages, I feel like you could have really went into detail of how dead the city was. But at the same time, you know, you didn't need all that detail. You know, you got what you needed right here, and I'm fine with that. I still love it as a book, but even as a kid, though, I gotta say, it wouldn't be my favorite. It's a really good one, but it wouldn't be in my top 10. Well, probably would be in my top 10, but it wouldn't be in my top 5. Not my top 3, not my top 5, but probably my top 10. I don't know, I gotta reread all of them, and I'll give y'all a list, my ranking list, and lots of small thoughts and opinions. But right now, here's my thought and opinion. I love it. It's an 8, and if I had one word to describe it, or a few words anyway, I'd say... let me think here. What would I say? You know what? I'd say dark. I say dark. Or Child's Play. You know, Child's Play. If y'all know anybody who grew up with Chucky or just watched Chucky and y'all saw the very original and y'all love the original and y'all know what I mean. So I'll give 2 words. Dark, Child's Play. You can choose and debate which one fits this book a lot better. But I think right now I'll probably go with dark, because it is a dark book. It's pretty dark for a kid's book, and I love it. I'm excited to read more and see how well that goes. And I'm sorry the video dragged. I've been trying to make them shorter, but I'm just not good at that. I got a lot to say about it. So, y'all, if y'all watch this, I appreciate it. I know that, you know, book reviews can drag, but I'll try to make the next one as interesting as possible. So, until then, though, I hope y'all enjoyed my thoughts and opinions on it, and y'all give me y'all's thoughts and opinions on this book. Like, just this one alone. I mean, you can tell me what your favorite Goosebumps monster is, but let's keep on this one. Let's try. You know what? I take that back. Tell me your thoughts and opinions on this one as well as the other ones. What's your favorite Goosebumps book? Who's your favorite Goosebumps monster, and why? Like, if you have any thoughts and opinions on Goosebumps that you would like to share, that you feel like you need to share right here, right now, go ahead. It can be positive, negative, it can be a little bit in between. I don't care. I like hearing opinions, especially different ones, as long as we're respectful towards each other's opinions. You know, let's try to be respectful in the comments, please. If anyone does comment, then let's be respectful. But until then, this is Clownboy03, and I enjoyed this book. It's a solid 8 out of 10. I would describe it as dark, and I hope y'all have a good day. I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.